Many of the families I work with school-age kids moving to the Portland metro area are looking for a quiet, laid-back suburban community. And once you start breaking down where those areas are, you can find yourself all over the map in the Portland metro area. But there are a handful, a half a dozen, maybe up to a dozen suburbs and areas within suburbs throughout the Portland metro area that kind of perfectly fit that bill. And definitely atop of that list, or toward the top of that list, let's say, is Tualatin, Oregon. And Tualatin is a smaller suburb. It's definitely pretty dense, so most of it has been developed, but it is just about exactly what you would think of when you think of being in the suburbs. And in this video, we're going to highlight one of the best neighborhoods in Tualatin. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Tualatin, Oregon today. And in this video, we're going to highlight one of the best, if not the top neighborhood in Tualatin. Again, Tualatin is a relatively small suburb, so there's not a ton of neighborhoods, and honestly, most of Tualatin is very, very consistent throughout. You have probably 40 or 50 years, maybe 4 or 5 decades of residential development that took place from around, maybe the 70s up to today. There is some new construction going on still. We'll talk about that a little bit in this video, but in this video, we're going to be highlighting Ibach, the Ibach neighborhood, which is all of the residential developments surrounding Ibach Park. Now, Ibach Park, the park itself, is this enormous park with big open fields, walking paths like I'm on right now, tennis and pickleball courts. They do music and movies in the park and stuff like that in the summer and the warmer months. There's a couple of different playgrounds, baseball and sports fields. So it's really all you could ask for in terms of, having a really nice park planted right in the middle of your neighborhood. And, anywhere you would live in this Ibach neighborhood, you would have access to this incredible park. Oh, and hey, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. Now, Tualatin itself has a lot of great parks. Not a ton necessarily, but the parks that are here are really great. So it seems like any neighborhood you would be in Tualatin, which again, there's really only a few, you're going to have at least one nice big open park like Ibach Park to walk to, or bike ride. Maybe it's a quick drive depending on exactly where you are. But again, not a ton of parks necessarily in Tualatin, but the ability to get outside, enjoy some green space, and even get down on the Tualatin River is definitely a nice feature of living in Tualatin. All right, so why is the Ibach neighborhood the top neighborhood in Tualatin, at least in my opinion? Well, I think more than anything, because Tualatin is so consistent throughout the entire city, it's really representative of what you can get in Tualatin overall. But for Ibach itself, you're kind of perfectly isolated and tucked away, and it feels a little bit more of kind of a private, quiet area in that way, being on the southwest side of Tualatin. So you don't have as many of kind of the major through streets. You're a little bit more off of the freeway. You don't have a ton of commercial development right in the area. And because of that, I think you get this insulated feeling that I think a lot of people moving to this type of area would want to have. Again, it just the feeling of more privacy. It's quieter. It probably feels a little safer because of that. So, as far as, especially in an area like this being very, very kind of family friendly, or a lot of young families living here, you can kind of let your kids go out and roam and maybe feel a little bit better about that. I don't know, everybody's tolerance for that kind of thing is a little bit different, but either way, a lot of the people that I work with that are moving to the Portland metro area, looking for a suburban area, exactly like what you can get in the Ibach neighborhood of Tualatin, are looking for, things like sidewalks. They're looking for community. They're looking for walkability. And walkability is something that has kind of a different definition for everybody. The traditional definition of walkability, kind of in the real estate sense, or, you know, defining an area where you live, you know, would be more like you can walk to a grocery store, or you can walk to a coffee shop, or you can walk to restaurants and things like that. You're definitely not going to get that in this area. So, you know, this is definitely a place where you need to have a car to get just about anywhere if you're getting out of the neighborhood, as far as a commute or, again, shopping, things like that. But you see where I'm walking right now, kind of in this wooded area connected to Ibach Park. I'm actually surrounded by houses right now, you know, so a lot of this community in this neighborhood, you can access these trails. There's paved walking trails. There's a little more like gravel where I'm walking on right now, but, you know, pretty flat, really easy to move around, great for getting out, taking your dog for a walk, or just being able to get out and enjoy nature, get fresh air, get a little exercise and everything. And so, you know, again, when we talk about walkability, the ability to get out and walk around and be in a really nice environment, obviously walk to the park and, you know, all of this really nice green space and natural areas that surround it, definitely a big plus. And so I would at least count that in the category of walkability to some degree, and in terms of, again, having the opportunity to get out and actually walk around. So what are you going to get in this area as far as homes go? Well, everything here was built between 1990 and about 2010, and the majority probably between, you know, early 90s to about 2000. So again, you have a lot of consistency throughout the neighborhood as far as the style, the age, the size of homes. You're going to get about 2,800 to 3,000 square feet on average. Anywhere from a 3-bedroom to 5-bedroom home is going to be typical. And in terms of prices, you're probably starting about $750,000. You can probably go up to $1 million, 1.1. That's going to be the typical range. Not going to be a ton below that. And really, there's not going to be all that much above it. And when you drive around this area and you look at the homes, you look at the style of neighborhood, you know, kind of the intangible stuff, some of what I was getting at, just as far as the privacy, the feeling that you get being in a community like this. And to be honest, you know, a little bit of an upscale feel to some degree. I mean, these are really, really nice neighborhoods with nice big homes. You're not going to find many areas around the Portland metro area that have a similar feel, similar dynamic, that are going to be less expensive. But you will find a lot of areas throughout the Portland metro area where you're spending $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 more, you know, where the range might be more like 900 to 1.2, or even $1 million to 1.3, something like that, for really, again, a very similar style neighborhood, very similar style homes, you know, built around the same time. And that could be anything from like Lake Oswego, even West Lynn, maybe a little bit on the higher end of that, to all of this 97229 zip code, which is north of Highway 26. So we're talking about like Cedar Mill and Bethany. A lot of these areas, you know, have very, very similar feeling developments, but they're going to be higher priced. So I think for Tualatin, you really get this best of both worlds with some relative affordability in really kind of an idyllic community. Okay, so why are you getting more affordability here than maybe in other parts of the Portland metro area that have a very similar feel and dynamic overall? I think it's purely proximity. This isn't always the case, but generally, as a rule of thumb, the further away you get from the city center, being Portland, generally the more affordable things become. And, you know, a lot of that, at least kind of historically, traditionally, you know, the city is the economic center of the metro area. You know, that's where people want to be for work, entertainment, all of that good stuff. So, you know, those dynamics have definitely shifted, probably nationally, definitely locally, especially in the last 5 years, where, you know, there's maybe more so barking at me, where if anything, there's been a little more of an exodus from urban centers to more suburban or ex-urban or even rural type areas. That's probably being reined in a little bit, you know, that type of migration, I think, at least, you know, in my experience and talking to people about what their priorities are. But at any rate, again, I think in Tualatin and even in Ibach Park specifically, where you're even a little bit more buried, you know, kind of in this suburbia type environment, you know, you have a noticeable, or you're noticeably kind of removed. But honestly, in that same breath, you know, if we're talking about being more removed from the city center and then that, you know, lending to more affordability, it's not like this is the, you know, most inconvenient place to live in the Portland metro area by any means. I mean, without traffic, you're only going to be about 20 minutes drive up to downtown Portland, and part of that is because Tualatin is right on I-5, so you have a lot of suburban areas throughout the Portland metro area that are, you know, kind of removed far east and far west, in particular far southwest and far southeast, and that really gives more of a sense or kind of feeling that you are really buried out in those areas. And at least getting up into Portland is a lot more difficult, where again, as in Tualatin, here in Tualatin, you're right on that I-5 corridor, so get out of your neighborhood, hit I-5 and go straight north up into Portland. So again, it's only about 20 minutes without traffic. You're 20 minutes to downtown Lake Oswego, which is a great little downtown area, kind of suburban downtown area. It feels like a little mountain village, you know, ski village, something like that. So that's really cool. And then you're only 15 minutes over to the Willamette area, which is like downtown West Lynn. So in that area, I mean, that's really developed and kind of had a bit of a makeover over the last 10 or so years, with food trucks and great restaurants and a lot of cool entertainment. Farmers market, stuff like that. So, you know, being in Tualatin, again, you can get to Portland, Lake Oswego, West Lynn very quickly. And so it's not like you don't have access to get out and enjoy a lot of great entertainment. Now here in Tualatin, you're going to have all the shopping, grocery stores, things like that that you need. Being here in the Ibach neighborhood, you can still get up to kind of the town center, let's say, in Tualatin pretty quickly, you know, under 10-minute drive, maybe 5-minute drive. And so this is an area I think referred to as like Tualatin Commons, Lake at the Commons, a couple little restaurants around there, businesses, you know, some apartments. So it has a little more of kind of like a little downtown urban feel. You also have the Tualatin Commons Park right there in that area, where you can access the Tualatin River. A lot of people will do that, get out and paddleboard or kayak and stuff like that. So, you know, there's enough going on there, you know, here right in Tualatin. I think though, for entertainment, you would probably find yourself getting out of Tualatin just as much as you would find yourself staying locally, and that's not necessarily the case in every suburb around Portland. More my opinion. I don't live in Tualatin. I know a lot of people who've grown up here. I spent a lot of time here, so that's kind of my read on the situation. I think for entertainment, probably the most redeeming quality about Tualatin is having Bridgeport Village on the north side. Bridgeport is this like beautiful outdoor mall, open air mall. You know, it has kind of this like Southern California or California type feel more than, you know, traditionally what you would find in like a shopping mall here in Portland. Something like Washington Square, you know, it's all inside, which does better to accommodate the weather that we get for at least half of the year. But Bridgeport has this like beautiful movie theater, and there's some really great restaurants that are continuing to go into this area. So, you know, Bridgeport, probably anywhere you live in Tualatin, you're not going to walk to Bridgeport, you're still going to drive there, but it's really nice to have that on your doorstep as well. So in my opinion, Tualatin is one of the most underrated suburbs in the Portland metro area for everything that it does offer. I think, at least for somebody who's looking for this type of environment, there is so much to like. You know, it is going to be still really pretty convenient as far as location, even if you work up in Beaverton, for example. But getting into Portland, you know, depending on where you need to be in the metro area, maybe the commute is a little bit longer living in Tualatin, potentially, but I think it's definitely an area that's worth checking out. And if you are looking for a neighborhood that is really just kind of like idyllic suburbia, also very representative of everything that you can get in Tualatin, for the most part, it's going to be this Ibach neighborhood. So if you are moving to the Portland metro area, if you want to talk more about Tualatin, neighborhoods in Tualatin, if you want to talk about areas that are similar to this, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us. We can talk all about it. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.